Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to One Civil Law. I hope you're having a great day. I am joined by Nan Gallagher. Yay!
It's Nan. It's Nan, but
Nan.
it's great to
I
be
had
here.
I had a 50-50 shot, and I got it wrong.
Short for Nancy, but no one calls me Nancy. It's nice
That's
to meet
okay.
you.
We can call you Nan. That's fine by me. We're going to talk a little bit about Nan and her life, her career, what she thinks about Karen Reed, how it compares to other trials on a scale of one first percentile to 99th percentile. What percentile level of bullshit is this?
Oh my, it's
Is
off
it
the charts.
is it high?
This is like 250%. Yeah. I can't.
Yes.
I can't turn away.
But why don't you give our viewers, for those of who may not know, a brief bio about who are you?
Who am I? Okay, well, to all of your audience, it's nice to make your acquaintance. I've actually been in your audience for many years now, Kurt. My name's Nan Gallagher, also known as Lawferio on the cold, mean streets of social media. I don't have a YouTube channel, even though there's a little channel associated with my handle, which is Lawferio. I don't have any desire to stream, but I do like to be very outspoken on Twitter and Facebook. And I am a healthcare attorney practicing for 25 years in the New Jersey, New York metropolitan area. In that capacity, I practice criminal, civil, and administrative law. That's one of the reasons why I took an interest in the case that we're going to be talking about this evening or this afternoon, whatever time zone everyone's in. And I own my own law firm. It's called the Nan Gallagher Law Group. We have offices in New Jersey and in Manhattan. And together I rule like a tyrannical oligarch, I guess you would say. I have a nice staff, but they fear me. So I rule from a position of fear. Now, I'm kidding. I'm actually very nice to work for. And ultimately, I started my own practice back in 2016 after getting sick of working for other people and following their rules. So I started my own firm, represent mostly physicians, associations, boards nationally, medical practices, any kind of healthcare provider. And in the capacity of a healthcare lawyer, I do everything for them. So that's why when I entered this scene back in January of 2025 on the Karen Reed case, and just so there's no secrets out there, I am a very proud card-carrying free Karen Reed supporter, in addition to being an attorney. But when I entered the scene in January of 2025, a lot of the antis would say, oh, she's a healthcare lawyer. What would she know? And, not only do I do criminal work.
I think that make you decently qualified.
I think so too. And there's a lot of healthcare pieces to this case, including what happened today.
There are some healthcare pieces involved in this case. There's a little bit of medicine involved in this. I think that might help a little bit with bona fides.
Yeah, wouldn't it have been great if they tapped me to prep some of the medical witnesses? No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But ultimately, I got a lot of criticism. Oh, she's just a healthcare lawyer. What would she know? And it doesn't really matter. As a healthcare attorney, I do everything. I just don't do matrimonial. But if a doctor gets in trouble, they call me. If they get arrested, they call me. Doctors tend to get in some of the worst kind of trouble. And in addition to that, doctors are heavily policed and regulated by not only the local police, but the feds and the FBI. So I have pretty robust experience when it comes to dealing with federal agencies and when they do and do not close their investigations. So that's a little bit about me. It's great to be here.
Now, did I understand that you have a minor in Greek tragedies?
Greek comedies and tragedies. To be honest, we are fair and balanced. In I did minor in
that is wicked cool.
Well, ultimately,
what is your favorite Greek comedy / tragedy?
I don't know if I would say I have a favorite. I mean, I guess I really like the epics. Like I learned a lot about the epics. Like I love the Odyssey.
Sure.
I love the Iliad. I can't say that I've picked up a comedy or a tragedy for years. I mean, I'm dating myself, but I'm going to hit a big birthday this year.
39?
How old?
39?
Add one more decade to that. But
Wow.
yeah, no, it's going to be a big birthday for me, and I'm not looking forward to it. But to be honest, I haven't looked at any Greek comedies or tragedies in years. I do often go back to the Odyssey, because I think it resonates with my practice. Like there's challenges
Sure.
that I face that I do tend to go back to that and get inspiration. And I double majored. I should probably mention my education if it matters. I went to Fordham University in the Bronx. I graduated toward the very top of my class, and I really streamlined my education at Fordham. I had so many credits going into university that I was able to apply for a United States fellowship. I won one. I ended up, it was President Clinton's era at the time, but I won a fellowship. Spent 2 years with that fellowship down in South America studying in Chile. I lived with a Chilean legislator and his family. I went to a pre-law program there. My two majors were English and Spanish, and that's how I kind of won this fellowship, because I had to pick a Spanish-speaking country. That was unusual. Everyone goes to Spain. I picked Chile, and I won that fellowship, studied there for 2 years, and finished ultimately back at Fordham. And then I went to New York Law School, graduated also towards the top of my class, and I clerked for a civil judge in Essex County, New Jersey. That's the busiest county in New Jersey. And I just worked my way up ever since then. I'm all about hard work. And now I've come to a position in my life where I love doing what I do. I love running my own firm, calling my own shots, and it allows me the freedom to take some time to focus on true crime cases that I really love. And I follow many of them. And Karen Reed's case caught my attention back in 2022. And then most notably, once Turtle Boy, whom I know you have since met, once he broke the award-winning journalism on the case.
Ooh. So
Yeah,
it caught your attention pre-Turtle Boy. So you have
it
to
did.
you have to inform me, why did this case catch your attention so
Well, I
early
have
on?
I have a little bit of professional background in Boston. I worked for a firm that is a national firm, out of Boston. So I don't anymore, but I had subscribed to some of the papers up in Boston, and I happened to read about Karen's case back in 2022, and I was like, something doesn't sound right to me. I had Yeah, it just wasn't it I can't say I knew everything, and this was pre 227 Google search. This was pre there's health data out there. So before like the whole conspiracy theory hatched that was, cracked and really broken by Aiden Carney, Turtle Boy. I just had read about the case in the local Boston papers, and I was like, you know what? Something's not sounding right. And then I did a little bit of digging. I can't remember what sources I looked at, but there were sources on social media. I
Well,
went in.
if you can't remember the name and author of the sources, then it doesn't count. You can't cite chapter and verse right here, right now.
Man, I know. But the one of the most interesting ways, Kurt, to get involved in true crime cases is to go into the social media forums.
Oh dear.
And I went into them,
Sometimes
and
it can be a little cray cray though.
they can, and I did
Yeah.
garner some attention. I have over the years, like when I was looking at Koberger and I was looking at Lori Vallow and all of these cases that have interested me. But I went into some local Boston area rabbit holes, forums on Facebook, and I was looking at people, and it was a minority, but there were people in them who were saying, "It's things aren't what you seem." This is back in 2022. And that is always the hook for me. Like, if things aren't what they seem, I want to dig further. So, it was just a little side hobby of mine. I paid very light attention to the Karen Reed case. And then by April of 2023, I had heard about Turtle Boy's article. I started to read into it, and I was like, I am definitely in this. And I became not only a Turtle Boy fan and supporter, but also a Karen Reed proponent by 2023 on. And then I started surfing the chats. I went into however many content creators were out there that I could find within my time. You know, I'm a busy mom of two and a business owner, and I started surfing chats. And then I felt like I got to know free Karen Reed supporters just in the chats. And I became very closely familiar with the content being created over 2023 and then into 2024. And, you know, the content creators were my sole source for real, concrete, honest reporting of the Karen Reed case, the trial, etc. I actually stopped watching mainstream media almost altogether, and then started to hate it almost altogether. And then 2024, the way my trial schedule aligned, I was able to watch the trial almost completely gavel to gavel without very much catch up at all
Very good.
over that time. I just as an aside, I took the inspiration of Karen Reed's first trial as an opportunity to self reflect and self perfect. I developed some exercise and eating habits and started running. Well, first walking, and I wasn't walking so well. I was quite overweight at the time, but I used it as a motivation because if she can face this, I can face my own demons. And those were health related at the time. And over the course of Karen Reed's trial and the coverage, the pretrial coverage leading up to it, the post trial coverage after it, I ended up losing, now it's almost 170 pounds.
Excellent.
Thank you. And I'm very proud of it.
I've lost 70 pounds myself in the last 3 months. So I've
I
been trying
have
to lose some weight
I've
too.
noticed you're looking good.
Thank
Good
you.
for you. You have to, someone once said to me, if you make a promise to yourself, you got to keep it. And that has always really stuck in me. So if you say to yourself, and it's not about setting expectations and goals, although I think setting reasonable goals is a good idea, keep them reasonable. But if you promise yourself, you know, I'm going to put me first, I'm going to put my health, happiness, my physical health, my mental, emotional, psychological health first in my life, obviously, in addition to my children who are so important to me, and my clients, I guess I need to give them a nod. If I make a promise like that to myself, I'm going to keep it. And that's what I did. And I do pretty much every morning, almost, if not always, 7 days a week. I'm out there running, and I use it as a means to blow off steam after this ridiculous case, which just keeps getting worse. So I've tied it all back to Karen Reed for you, Kurt.
There you go. That's cool. I like it all. So
Thank you.
what is your view of the differences in the first case to the second case? Do you think how do you think things are going comparatively for the parties? I suppose is a good way to start as any on that question.
Yeah. So first case to second case. Well, I guess I should say I think that the defense and the attorneys for the defense, I've had an opportunity to have since met them. And I know obviously we didn't have Bob Alessi for trial 1.0, but I have met him as well. And I think they're all fantastic attorneys. But I do believe that for 1.0, the defense rested on their laurels a little bit, and I understand why. I understand that too, because I'm biased when I say this. A lot of people think, oh, you know, you're biased. What are you doing out there on social media? You're an attorney. You should be impartial. I don't have to be impartial. You know that. I mean, I've seen what I need to see, and I can advocate as I see fit. But in trial 1.0, I feel like the defense took the approach of this is so self evident. Look at the 227 Google search, look at the health data, look at the butt dials and the discarding of phones and the conflicting stories. And they did all of that. And they said, these are the select number of witnesses we're going to call. And I don't think that they should have rested on their laurels. I think they should have put on a little bit of a more robust defense. That's just my view. I've actually told them that since. But in 1.0, when you have Lally, who I should mention to you, you know, in the final analysis, I actually like Lally's approach much better than I like Brennan's, his style, his demeanor.
He's ethical, whether the charges should be brought in the first place, but at least in the conduct of the trial, it was ethical.
Ethical, maybe. I could debate you on that, my friend, because I do think he's ethical, and I have serious concerns about Brennan. But
Yeah.
there's some things that I question whether Lally knew and looked the other way on intentionally. So, even as most recently as whether or not Lally knew and appreciated the holes in the hoodie, right? So he knew. I'm bringing some current things up. Lally at the time, back in 1.0, presumably knew that there were holes that were caused by the criminologist or criminalist, however you refer to her, Maureen Hartnett, that were not in any way related or attributable to friction caused or tail light pieces or friction from the ground, etc. But I wonder what he knew at the time in 1.0 with that. I wonder if he had what he knew and what he was conveying to Miss Hartnett. I also think he clearly must have known that some of the witnesses he was putting in the box may or may not have some serious credibility issues. I'm not going to say he suborned perjury, because I won't say that as an officer of the court, but I feel like maybe there's enough there for me to say, But Lally, besides the fact that he put on everyone under the sun, which I don't think he needed to do, but hey, that's the way his brain works. He wanted to tell the full story. I think he put on a better case than Brennan, who's got major ethics issues, and just the gaslighting drives me up the wall. But I think that the defense probably should have been a little bit more aggressive. By 2.0, by the way, for 1.0, I think that the defense hammered third party culprit too much, and they really should have.
Yeah, I think they're right.
They should have recapitulated reasonable doubt a little better. They should have been firmer with the jury slips, like make sure that the jury is properly instructed. There's so many different issues, which is why I love this case, because it's almost like a continual bar exam, like pick the issues and develop them. But then as far as 2.0 is concerned, hey, the defense came to play. They're bringing in all the witnesses that they see fit, and you and I could talk about it if you want in terms of who they're not calling and maybe why they're not calling them, like the Proctors, the Higgins. But they also they've really stacked their deck with very sound, robust experts. They now have taken ownership of ARCA. They've got Dr. La Posada, who is not.
She was great.
I thought she was fantastic. So today was a little bit of a juggling game for me, but she did great. She's a more seasoned individual. She has in her past been questioned as to her involvement with the fire at the station.
I thought she handled that whole question. I thought she handled that very, very well, and I kind of thought it amounted to nothing. I thought she managed to parry that very, very well. I was impressed.
I was too, Kurt. And the thing about that is, and you probably see this in your experience. To me, now that I've seen today the way Brennan was cross-examining her on that issue, he knew there was nothing there. She held her own with him, and it just kind of eviscerated. It just went, poof, it was gone. He couldn't really undermine her credibility. And, whomever prepped her really did a great job, because she was able, as I mentioned, like just a more seasoned individual. She's now not doing forensic pathology for the state. She's doing private consulting. So I see doctors who've been practicing for decades. Sometimes they lose their steam and their gusto. She was able to throw it back at him. She was able to say, yeah, but that's not the case here. He would ask her a hypothetical and she would say, yes, but that's not what we have here. So she dished it back like a mean game of tennis or pickleball, pick your sport of choice. So she was fantastic. She did not conflict, in my opinion, with the medical examiner, Scorty Bello. She did not conflict, in my opinion, with Stonebridge, who was not called in this trial. And the experts that the defense have been at least proposing to possibly call, getting the Garrett Wing, the potential dog bite expert, who it does not appear they're going to be calling him, getting Dr. Marie Russell, whom I don't know about you, but can we agree is like the most uniquely qualified expert?
She's pretty qualified. Or is she? Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
What's funny about her though, Kurt? She was told, so when Judge Canoni decided, whatever that was, a month or two ago, after maybe it was more than a month or two ago, but when she made her decision on whether to let Dr. Marie Russell testify following her voir dire, her decision said that it was a close call. It's a close call as to why I'm making this, which I hate all of her little editorializing in her orders, which clearly bend towards the Commonwealth. But when she issued that, it was a close call. But then I think it was yesterday or the day before, when Judge Canoni was deciding whether to let La Posada offer opinions on dog bites, Canoni's like, Dr. Russell is the preeminent expert on dog bites. We don't need La Posada, which I think is just ridiculous. Canoni contradicts herself to the extreme. So,
well, I suppose in principle, just because you're the preeminent expert doesn't necessarily mean that you're. I suppose you could still, in principle, not be qualified enough. Maybe no one is qualified because the science isn't there yet. I don't know.
But you think about it, this trial 2.0 is so interesting to me because you have all of this buildup leading up to it.
Yeah.
You bring in Marie Russell, and it's not looking like the Commonwealth is even going to call Crosby their alleged dog bite.
Yeah, which by comparison to like this whole Doe-Bear Fry thing, like with the dog, it's a dog behaviorist expert. He's a dog trainer.
Right.
Okay. And he wants to comment about dog bites. I'm like, how? And in her order relating to that, where she's like, it's admissible, it was conclusory. It was one paragraph. It's just like, here's the 4 elements of the standard, and it's met. And I'm like, and it was really frustrating to me as a legal educator because people in chat then said, well, does this mean person X can testify as to Y? And I'm like, I have no idea because she won't tell me what the rule is. I don't know. So what that means.
I find it so comforting in a really sadistic way when law tubers like yourself are so kind of frustrated with what Judge Canoni's rulings are. Because I feel like seen and understood when that happens. I'm not a law tuber. When I see people like yourself and Peter Tragos and Emily Baker, Andrea Burkhart,
and we're all kind of confused. We're all confused.
Yeah. And it's not just the confusion. Some are reaching kind of levels of complete outrage. Some are just like, I can't guide you as a content creator. I can't answer your question because on my planet, this is what would happen. Or this is what the Supreme Court says in this instance, but all bets are off.
And I've said before, like it wouldn't be such a big deal, although it'd be annoying for other reasons, but it wouldn't be such a big deal if she just held a standard and applied it both ways. Like if she was the strictest Doe-Bear Fry judge that ever lived, and basically no expert was good enough for her, but she applied it good both ways. It's like, well, at least I know what the rule is. The rule is no expert witnesses, I guess, but at least I know what the rule is. So that's annoying, but it's not as annoying when it's completely unfair.
Yeah, you'd have some like level of predictability to it, but the complete conflict between what she's ruled for the Commonwealth versus the defense. I mean, and I think she hates Alan Jackson. I really do. I think I think she hates Jackson. I think she gets annoyed with the verbosity of Alessi.
She
And
doesn't seem to hate Little as much. Maybe she should talk more.
yeah, maybe. And it's interesting because that's yet another difference, in my opinion, from my observation in this trial, trial 2.0. Like we're seeing no involvement of Little in terms of the questioning of witnesses.
Yeah, give the women lawyer all the motion practice. Maybe they'll get
Yeah.
somewhere.
Well, let me tell you something, Kurt. That was that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's
Nah,
yeoman's work and underappreciated, but
you better believe it.
that was my life for 15, maybe a little less than 15 years of my practice, where I'm like, I'm doing the hard stuff. And it's interesting to watch Canoni look at Little and say, what page is it on? What date was it filed? And Liza knows this like the back of her hand. She is, from my observation, the sharpest tool in their shed. Any one of these orators in the form of Yannetti, Jackson, um, Alessi,
Alessi.
they can look to her and she's got it. She has got it. And everybody needs someone like that. In fact, I am looking for an attorney to come work for me who has those skills himself or herself. Yeah.
With like
So
just well, I mean, I think Alessi is very good on attention to detail too, to be honest.
he
He's
is. He is, but at the
also, I'm
same
afraid he might kill me with his black gloves on the other day. I'm like, what's
No,
his favorite kind of garrote? Does he prefer piano wire or does he go a different way?
I learned about a garrote from watching true crime. I was watching something a couple of months ago. I think it was a Dateline special. And I was like, what the hell's a garrote? Now I know, and I can't unknow it. I've met him, and I will tell you, he is jacked. He
Yeah,
hides
I
it.
noticed it.
Have you seen, like, he hides it under that suit, but boy, he's got the muscles. And when I guess, was it yesterday? So I think I was working. I was doing something, and I listen to the trial, and it's running in the back of in my ears, and I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And I happen to look at the screen, and he's got black gloves on, and I had no idea what was going on. And I was like, is he gonna go kick someone's butt here? Like, what's going on? What did I miss? And it was pretty amazing. And he's got a tremendous attention to detail, also to diction. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's a walking thesaurus, and it annoys Canone, or Canoni, however anyone pronounces it, to no end. I find her treatment of some of the defense attorneys at times absolutely appalling. It's certainly inequitable. And these are my opinions. They may not be the opinions of the show. Let me throw the disclaimer in, but it's just unbelievable to see that, like you were saying, there's no uniformity as to what rules she's going to apply. And frankly, it's gotten so bad, in my observation, that
Yeah.
when she does make a ruling for the defense, I'm shocked. I'm literally like, whoa, like with the the application to disclose the written communications between Karen Reed and David Yannetti that Brennan
Mm-hmm.
was going after.
Mm-hmm.
And people were real nervous about that. In fact, I think it carried over a weekend, and there was a lot of anxiety building on Twitter and Facebook about it. And ultimately, when that argument was held and Alessi kind of started arguing, and she's like, I'm going to grant this like, she stopped him. She's like, don't worry about it. Sit down. I'm going to grant it. And I'm sitting there going, whoa, that was refreshing. I mean, that was the right decision, in my opinion, maybe not yours. But I was surprised.
No, I mean, yeah, let's disclose attorney-client communication definitely got my attention.
It's funny though, because some people fire off messages to me, or I see it in chats when I'm on the content creators channels, and they'll say, oh, and I'm just being hypothetical. Kurt from Uncivil Law thinks that they may get disclosed. I'm using that as an example. So I'll see in chats that some law tubers feel certain ways, and I haven't even had a chance to watch their streams, like, which I have to take this opportunity to tell you, I think your streams and commentary on the Karen Reed case is just spot on and
Aw.
very hysterical. Like, I love to
Aw.
laugh, I love to smile, and yeah, you're excellent at it. And you're not afraid to call bullshit when you see it.
Well, I try to the maximum extent I can, although at this point in the trial, it's getting very hard for me to try to maintain any view of objective. But I try as very hard as I can to
Y-
just try to like view issues and be fair about them, like legally,
Yeah,
and like my opinion, and whichever way that goes. And people can disagree with me or not, but I try to like call like legal issues and like, oh, I think the judge was actually correct about this ruling or that ruling or this other thing or it's just like she can't be wrong all the time. So some of the things she's doing are correct. So
yeah.
I but it's getting increasingly difficult with the every time there's this disparity like between especially like between the not only what should be and what is, but in the uneven application of that, it's getting harder and harder to flip back to some sort of neutral viewpoint. Assuming I'm still able to, which I'm not even sure is possible anymore.
Yeah, I mean, has this case just blown your mind? It's gotta. It just has to. There's some of these rulings, some of the shenanigans that Brennan is pulling, like yesterday, right? Like yesterday when he
Yeah.
completely misrepre and I feel bad because I'm saying some maybe controversial things that might be
Yeah, and
seen
then
as
that excuse for curative instruction, like if I
Ugh,
were going to give that, if I were going to give that curative instruction, that's going to go on for like a solid paragraph. And I'm also going to throw in, by the way, the Commonwealth apologizes, and he better get up when I say that, and he better actually himself say, "I'm sorry."
I
If he doesn't understand the memo, he better get up and say it.
I agree. And if I was loosely following today because my son had a concert of at he's about to graduate from fourth grade, so I didn't see all of it. But when I was watching, I did not see that they handled a revision or an argument to revise the curative instruction. If that happened, I missed it. But her curative instruction was abysmal, and I happened to catch Mark Betterow. He was on another content creator's channel last night. I happened to catch it this morning, and he basically kind of said what you just said, which is it was wholly inept. There needed to be much more, hey, it's the Commonwealth's fault, and we're going to revise this and hammer it into you, jury, that you've been misled. But I don't know if there's been an actual, I know the defense
Oh,
wanted.
I think they filed something today, and I believe she said that they won't discuss it until the charge conference, which sounds plausible because when else would you give the instruction again?
Are
So
you being
yeah,
sarcastic?
no,
Because
I think that's what I understood. If I understood what they were doing at the end of the day today.
yeah, and I know we're at the end of I know we're nearing the very end, but here's my view on that because if that happened, right, and I have no reason to doubt you, um, I feel like the issue of getting a curative instruction to the jury revised is so time sensitive. Like it shouldn't wait until after Rentschler's testimony is over and a rebuttal case. I feel that there is a level of urgency in terms of let's get this done right. They can always recapitulate for the charge conference. They can always say, and just as we told you before, you were told this bullshit from Brennan, and none of that took place. But the time sensitivity is important to me
Right.
because that's how my brain works. I want to be reminded in the moment. It's like when I tell my children or I have to discipline them. If I discipline them too late, they're like, "What is she coming at me for?"
Yeah. And
You
then
know?
like also other instructions were unclear because today was a fun one because the doctor was opining about because Brendan brought in Rescue Randy
Oh
for
God.
some reason to talk about the doctor, and doctor's starting to opine about this, and there's like, and then she said, what did she say? It was like the weirdest instruction because I'm like, I don't understand it as a lawyer. I don't understand the instruction. It's something like, okay, I want you to disregard like that evidence, although it's still evidence in the record from the other witness, but disregard it through this witness. I'm like, I don't know what that means. I
I
don't
don't.
understand. I don't understand what that means because like what is it? But it's not evidence. It's like it's not evidence with in the context of this witness. I was like, I don't know what that means because also I know later that I'm going to be charged. Like obviously I can take all the evidence from all the witnesses and put them together in sort of one big pot and mix them together and
Yeah.
assemble them in some sort of that's building blocks kind of thing. And so it's like, what do you mean I'm not supposed to like use it with respect to this witness? I don't understand what that means. Apparently what she meant was I was supposed to disregard her commentary about it, but that was wildly unclear.
This is one of the reasons I love watching your streams, because the level of sarcasm is like epic. It's just so it's wonderful to watch, because I'm like, wait, hold on. Okay, he's kidding, or he is really being satirical when he
Oh
says
yeah,
this. And it
that could be a fun thing sometimes, because sometimes I do really enjoy. It's a dangerous line of humor, but I really do enjoy like the joke where I'll say something dead serious, and it's like I'm depending on you to understand I'm joking, even though there's no external indication of it. That is a
yeah,
very dangerous game to play, but
it
I find that it's very dry British sense of humor in that way.
It's like comedic roulette, and
Yeah.
the dry British humor I get because when I was a little girl, my mom used to love to watch, like, some of the British television programs, like, we would I'd be up late at night because I used to suffer from insomnia, and, I would come downstairs after they'd put me to bed, and I was young, very young at the time, and I would come downstairs and say, "Hey, mommy, I can't sleep." And she'd be there watching British shows, and I remember specifically either coming down watching some American evening soap operas with her, like the Knots Landings, the Dynasties, the Falcon Crest, or she'd be watching Are You Being Served?
Hmm.
There were some other
British
programs.
panel shows are great.
Yeah. I loved it, and I love the dry British comedy, and I also just love the fact when I have to go, "Mm, wait a minute, is he being sarcastic?" Yes, he is, because it puts a mental challenge on me, and I'm all about doing mental acrobatics and challenging my brain, so it's one of the reasons I'm a big fan, and to your audience out there, like, I have to say, I got contacted by Kurt of Uncivil Law today and asked me if I wanted to come have a chat with him. So I'm like fangirling a little bit.
Aw, well, I
Yeah,
appreciate that. It's nice always having a fan,
thank
especially one
you.
as acclaimed and
A
well
cl-
accomplished as you are. Hey, I mean, you've had a great career, you know?
I
Fordham University, was it New York
Yeah,
Law?
New York Law. Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
not acclaimed. Just ask the trolls online, Kurt. Do they come after you?
They do come after me, but not as much as some creators. They seem to like prefer to go after the women creators for some reason. I don't really understand.
Yeah, it's
As far as I can
wonderful.
determine, they go after like Melanie Little the most for some reason. I don't understand what that's all about. But
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting to me because it's like I don't know any lawyer on YouTube, like any of us, who don't ourselves believe like the state hasn't proven this. Now we might think different things about what the jury will do, or we might think different things about like where the state is good or not, or like strengths of the case, or how different things might bow down the calculus. But like if we were in the jury box ourselves, like
right.
what are we going to do? Like I don't know anyone who is anything other than, oh no, there's absolutely no way in this world. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, can we all be wrong? It's like, I mean, and my chat knows, and if you follow me, you know that I will, in fact, take a position if I think it's correct, like if I think this was right or that is right, or I'll
Right.
just take a position, like whatever it is, like with Johnny Depp or any other case. It's just like I'll take a position. I don't care. The Black Swan murder, okay, I think
Yes.
guilty. I think guilty. Other people think not guilty. So there's a split of opinion. But like it's like, can we all be? I mean, can we all be just completely dumb,
I
or maybe we're just all grifters? Although, to be honest, if I somehow came out and be like, you know what, I think in my heart of hearts, I think Karen Reed is guilty and I think she'd be convicted. That's got to be good for some hate clicks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people hate watching. I love, though, that you're just not afraid to take the position you're gonna take. I don't know when you started your channel, but I know I started watching you in the era of Depp v. Heard. That's when I actually, for some reason, realized that YouTube could be a source of entertainment and information for me. I always knew it was there, but I'm like, "Wait, okay, there's channels and they have programs and they stream trials. This is my jam. I like it here."
We're informed. We're competent.
Yeah, you
We're
don't
having
answer
fun.
to anybody. And that's when I started watching you then, Peter Tragos, Runkle, Rob from Law and Lumber.
Sure.
And I felt like and Emily Baker, and I felt like I feel seen. I feel like these are people who I can understand, and if I had a question, I can throw one in your chat. But then you especially, you aren't afraid to kind of say, "Hey, black swan, guilty." Or and there are some, and I don't mean any offense to law tubers when I say this, because there's nothing but respect coming from me. But there are some law tubers out there over the years whom I think are sometimes catering to more of the public's sentiment on
It
a
can be
subject.
hard. Audience capture is real. It can be
Yeah.
very hard.
Yeah, see, that's a term I would never know as, a non-content creator,
And I feel
audience.
it. I feel it. I think at least part of the reason that my channel is not like doing the kind of numbers that some of these other channels is doing is at least partially because I'm willing to say things like, I think that I think and continue to think that for example, the double jeopardy issue, I don't think it was good. I don't think it was a good issue. I didn't think it was a good issue. I didn't think the habeas should be granted. And I was, kind of right every step of the analysis. But like, that
Nailed it.
that kind of opinion doesn't fly with some people. It's frustrating.
That's a good example, because now I remember that where you landed on the double jeopardy issue. And, I'm by no means a constitutional lawyer. I don't assiduously follow Supreme Court rulings, and I don't do tons of appellate work. I will farm it out to more dedicated and competent appellate lawyers who are better at it than I am and have more time to invest in just the sheer um, manpower and research that needs to go into it. That's not my strength. My strength is I need to get in front of the jury. I need to make the arguments to the judge. Like, that's where I shine.
Well,
And
if
I
you ever
think,
want to go to Fed appeal and you need help, let me know. I'll get him into the Second Circuit. We'll call it a day.
all right, how about Third Circuit?
All the circuits are good. Why not? It's all fine.
Jump on it.
Catch them all. I was like, I already got Federal Circuit. I need another 12. Let's go.
Wow. And are you loving, like, you love doing all the appellate work, but do you like doing the arguments? Like
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I have some big cases coming up. Maybe you might be interested. We could become quick friends.
Oh yeah. No, appellate is where I love to live, because it's like it's pure law. It's like trials are messy. Trials are about facts and credibility and witnesses and minutia.
Yeah.
Appeals are where you just get to play on the platonic
I
field.
remember when
And so it's great glory.
and I apologize for interrupting you, Kurt. I remember when you were breaking down the Chevron ruling. I
Yes.
don't even know when that was. I've lost track of time, but
Looper Bright. It was like 2 years ago, and I was so happy.
Yeah, when that came down, and I remember saying to myself,
Chevron is dead.
I would not enjoy doing appellate work, and I would not enjoy, although I want to know all of the value of the decisions that come down from the appellate courts and the highest courts, etc. But like, I it's not my thing. But guess what? To get to the appellate level, you need the street fighters like me. So
Sure.
I feel like it's almost like the old, remember the old commercials? I don't know how old you are, but
Maybe it's like chess boxing.
yeah.
So you can do the boxing rounds, I'll do the chess rounds, and we'll call it a day.
I'm all for it. It's almost like there used to be ads back in the day for Reese's peanut butter cups, and it was like, you put your peanut butter in my chocolate. No, you put your chocolate in my peanut butter. Like, I feel like the chocolate and peanut butter of appellate and trial level lawyers, it's necessary to make a beautiful thing. So I would welcome a future collaboration if you're ever
Excellent.
interested. Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. Sounds like a lot of fun to me. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in.
And if I can I ask you a question, or is that
Sure.
too presumptuous on your channel? Okay. I would like to know how you overall think this trial for Karen Reed is going, and are you making any predictions?
Yeah, so I'm currently projecting a 25% chance of conviction.
Okay.
My view is based on a combination of things. First of all, I take the view that in a criminal trial, there's basically a 5% base chance that they will convict no matter what happens, because there's a defendant sitting at the defense table. Well, he must have done something.
Yeah. That's
know,
kind of sounds like the Ronnie the juror.
yeah.
But I agree with you.
This is a non-trivial factor. I think you throw in the fact that it's a cop who's dead, even though it's like not on the line of duty. I figure that's got to up the odds.
Yeah.
So what Brennan did two things that were very well, three things, I guess, in context that he did very, very well. I liked very much the structure of his opening argument. His stage presence leads a lot to be desired, but I really liked very much the way it was structured because, if I had to describe what the perfect opening is it's the outline of the story, right? You want
Right.
to, you sort of you get into the start of the story, and then you sort of want to lay out a narrative flow that is going to explain to the jury what they're going to hear, and then you like drop in pieces of evidence or witnesses, sort of in a uh, sort of peppering or salting kind of way,
Yeah.
sort of lightly, just to provide some structure, so that there's some points along the way that they'll give them something to work from. And I really liked Brennan on story. I thought his story was outstanding. I thought the way he laid it out was great, and then in the actual presentation of the witnesses, um, he laid out the witnesses basically to model the story, which is what you want, which is not always possible because sometimes you need to call witnesses because they have different pieces and you can't always make it perfect. But he made it as basically as perfect as he could. He brought in the witnesses in kind of a 3-act structure. Act one was the admission slash confession. Act two was the investigation. Act three was this sort of scientific and aperture. As to like the admission slash confession stuff, I thought he played that out again just about as optimally as one could possibly dream.
Yeah.
He brought in, first of all, he had Jen McCabe, of course, like before, and I think much more effectively than the first trial.
Agreed.
He had like from 2 or 3 other witnesses who said, "I heard her say I hit him." Like one, there's like 2 MTs and maybe like a police officer who said it. But and then throughout his entire case, he'd drop in these clips like
Yeah.
every once in a while, which had the benefit of repetition is the mother of learning, right? So you can perceive her like saying these admissions confessions, and he keeps dropping them in throughout the case. And I thought that was just about perfect. I thought that was sort of brilliant. And I'm also of the view that juries sometimes will eat confessions the absolute shit up.
Yeah.
They will take confessions and run home up to and sometimes including direct contradiction with physical evidence because they love confessions so very much. Because I never confess, don't you know? I never
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
anything that could not, don't you know? It is no person who's innocent could ever possibly blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my god. So I figure that's worth at least like 20%. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, although to the extent that you find Aperture to be a better witnesses than I do, right? To the extent you find them to be more compelling or more interesting, then that would provide that second leg of it. And he also, I guess, correctly kept out the worst parts of his case. I was worried about that because I was worried about the defense calling them, but then I figured out eventually why they didn't, because I was like, oh yeah, that's right. She's going to make them pay if they call Proctor, so they can't do it. That's right.
Right.
So he kept out like Proctor and Paul and Higgins and Albert. He kept all that stuff out. I mean, Proctor's text messages were read in, but it didn't have the same impact.
And not all of them.
And not all of them. And so I'm like, if the jury believes that, and we haven't really gotten into the flipped thing with we haven't gotten to the ghostly presences with the Sally Port tape. We didn't really get into any of that, dealing with that. The apparitions, we didn't get into the flip stuff. So like if the jury, if you believe those pieces were there the whole time, if you believe, then you believe that the accident had to have occurred because the pieces are there. And, then, you throw in the fact that like Cold somehow stopped swelling and he was knocked back and then he fell and that's what killed him. I mean, there is some combination of the evidence that would get you to a conviction. from a
think
legal sufficiency standpoint. So
yeah,
I think
that's
25% to convict is basically what I think right now. I'm willing to be yelled at this point if you like.
Oh, I love yelling at people, but I think what you're presenting is completely reasonable. And I understand the math. I actually understand the observations that you have. Um, and it's interesting. I don't quantify things, so it's just not how my brain works. So, other than the fact that I definitely think because she's the defendant, there's always something right off the top in terms of a presumption. The jury will presume something adverse because why would the police and the go after her, arrest her, and then the Commonwealth try to prosecute her? But I always love learning how those who have more analytical minds than I do uh, process and analyze these types of equations. And in listening to you lay it out there, yeah, that's possible. I mean, and I don't mean any disrespect. I think it's possible that that number represents a fair estimate of a, uh, well, I guess you could either call it a likelihood of conviction or a likelihood of acquittal, no matter which way you're looking at the percentages. I laid eyes on this jury, and that doesn't mean that I know what was in their brains at the time. They're very young, which I'm confident you've heard. My observations on the day I was there was that they seemed quite annoyed with Brennan, and
Sure.
I wanna say Lally may have done some questioning that day too. I was there the day that Dr. Isaac Wolf, the neurosurgeon, testified, and also, Christina something or other, the extremely timid lab tech who is the slowest testifier I've ever encountered in a quarter of a century. But they were annoyed, with the prosecution that particular day. And then I try to follow some of the reporting from the journalists on the ground who don't answer to a higher authority, those who are independent, people like Aidan Carney, Jess Machado. If your audience isn't following those, I personally would recommend that you do, because you get just what I would perceive to be considered real authentic, uninfluenced, boots on the ground type of feedback as to what really is going on without an agenda. And most notably, when I mention Aidan Carney or Turtle Boy, I have to just tell you the the night, I guess it was at night, the night that you were discovering about Clay's baby Clay,
I was like,
and
what the hell is this?
this was I have to just take a moment and explain the joy that this brought me. Um, Most times when programs on YouTube air in the evening, I kind of hit a wall at some point. At certain hour, I'm like, I'm shutting it down. I'm going to bed. I remember running one morning, and if I'm running on the treadmill, usually I go outside, but if I'm running on the treadmill, I can watch and run my phone or a tablet. And I was watching, I want to say it was Aidan Carney or somebody on Twitter was playing you trying to figure out through your chat who Clay who Clay Carney was. And I hope there's people in your audience who know how, like, are laughing with me and chuckling with me, because it was the funniest thing in the world, because there are many of us who knew, including people in your chat who were trying to explain it to you. And as you were discovering this, and in your very analytical brain, we're like, wait a minute, Clay Carney, like, is that a relation to Aiden Carney? Like, wait, he's dead? What's going on here? And I forget all of the steps to your analysis. Um, I laughed so hard, I fell off the treadmill. I ended
Okay.
up hurting my knee.
Well, that's unfortunate.
And it provided just consistent comedic relief after that. But then to go one step further, I happened to be watching Aiden Carney soon thereafter, where he was like, I think he even tried to call you. He even tried to call you. I think he called the wrong law
I don't know
firm.
who he called.
I don't
He
either. And he left some horrible message looking for you. What I haven't seen though is, and I know it was recent, and it may have been more than one, the two of you having a stream or two together. I haven't seen that.
I
Have
thought
you
it was
two?
we did a stream. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I
I thought we
haven't
had,
seen it yet.
I thought we had a great conversation. It was
That's
great.
great. That's great. Yeah, but it was a funny moment, and it takes a lot to make me laugh my ass off. And you take the cake.
I'm not sure whether to take that as a compliment or not, but
It
okay.
is.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But and as far as my prediction for this case, I'm predicting an acquittal. I recognize and respect your views on where there's certain nuances and factors to consider. Um, I actually didn't have I don't have much negative to say about Brennan's opening either. But I have tremendous critique of the fact that the Commonwealth's theory has just completely morphed too many times to count, whether it's how fast she was backing up, at what length she backed up, what the which key cycle is it, what is the Apple Health data, which Brennan, if you're hate watching, it's Apple Health data. It is not Apple Healthcare data. But he's been all over the map in terms of what theory he thinks he's going with. Then as of yesterday, it was, well, can't the taillight push and drag? Those kept hearing push and drag, and Daniel Wolf of ARCA was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like the body will move with the taillight. It's almost as if, to me, that Hank Brennan is trying not only to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, as they say, but I feel like he's still learning the case. He is still learning the case, and as it gets further and further and further along from pretrial into trial, and this is my feeling, as he is becoming much more self aware that the facts don't add up, the science doesn't add up, that his case isn't worth the charging documents it was written on. And look what he has signed up for, and now he's into it. That he is becoming much more almost aggressively, what's the word I want to use? Just Gosh, it's like on the tip of my tongue. I feel like he's just becoming much more aggressively resistant to being an ethical partner throughout a trial. In doing trial work I've been doing trial work, not the entire 25 years of my career. I've been doing trial work for maybe almost 20, no, a little over 20 years after I paid my dues a bit. And I've had bad adversaries. I've had some problem prosecutors. I've had some problem adversaries on civil cases as well. And all in all, when I'm handling those cases, I still have a quote partnership with my adversary. We agree we're going to be professional with one another.
Sure.
And that's what the ethics rules kind of require. In fact, when I clerked,
Yeah, there's no particular reason that the attorneys are not, the attorneys are not the client. There's no particular reason that the attorneys on the opposite sides can't be personable with each other.
right, but you know what? Many
And
times,
that's often in service of the client too, to be quite honest, because
agreed.
if we're getting along, it means we can make things smoother and things can be quicker, and that
Agreed.
there's advantage to the client too.
But that is not, and I'm not saying that the both sides in Karen's case are being unprofessional toward one another now, but they don't like each other at all. And I see why. I see a lot of the gaslighting that's coming on from Brennan. I see, and it's only coming from Brennan. I'm not saying that Lally and McLaughlin don't have clean hands. Like, I definitely think that Lally and McLaughlin are a problem here as well. But as far as Brennan's concerned, with the misstatements, the mistakes, the oops, sorry, I shouldn't have done that, or the I don't have a problem if the defense wants to call ARCA, and then you get 2-3 weeks down the road and suddenly I object to ARCA, or I don't have a problem if Mark Betterow comes in pro hoc vice, but suddenly you have a problem if he comes in pro hoc vice. All of that combined, plus the fact that he is just, in my view, genuinely unlikable. And now, as this case has proceeded, and we just happen to see more of a trend of Judge Cannoni, in my view, calling almost every ruling in favor of the Commonwealth. And as we were talking before, Kurt, just being inconsistent, the lack of consistency in some of her rulings, which tend to favor the Commonwealth to Karen's detriment, and in my view, in violation of many of her constitutional rights. Today, I think it was, might have been yesterday, they blend together. Today was the day that I really became palpably aware of the fact that Jackson does not like Brennan at all anymore. It was more of like a come for me and, excuse me, I'm talking, and I'm here for it. Like I love confrontation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Makes for great watching.
No, it is great stuff. It's I don't know. It's disheartening though
Yes.
too. This case has been very disheartening. There's certainly been verdicts that I've disagreed with, but like this has just been so like it's driven me. I don't know. It's hard to watch. It's hard to be happy about, and it's
Yeah.
hard to on some level understand like what has gone so catastrophically wrong here. Um, as best as I could tell, because someone did it on X or something, they were saying like, yeah, Judge Bev has been overruled a lot, but she's been overruled when she's actually decided things in favor of the defense. So like
Yeah.
the only thing I can figure out is that apparently I guess she got the memo, which is be a real dick to the defense and give them nothing. I guess she got the memo because that's what her bosses want. So it's like, well, if Karen Reed is convicted, my hopes for an appeal are not looking super great.
Do
It's like,
you Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, just go ahead.
Do you have an opinion at all about whether there okay, I have a few questions if I can just conduct a little brief interview of you, because I don't see all of your streams. I see many of your streams.
We'll call it a voir dire.
Yeah, I'm gonna voir dire you for a moment.
Dire.
All
Sure.
right. Where do you land in terms of whether there was a conspiracy to cover up a murder or an even an accidental death? Where do you land on that?
Well, for the most part, I have just declined to answer the question because within the confines of Commonwealth versus Reed, as you are well aware, there is only one question at the end. There is one question, and that is, has the state proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt? So this is not who done it. This is not, do I think Karen Reed did it? This is not like who the most likely murderer is. This is not, did the police frame her?
Right.
This is not like, was he killed inside the house or whatever. This isn't even strictly, did she hit him with the car? Strictly, it is,
Yes.
has the state proven it beyond a reasonable doubt? And once you remember the question, which I tell my chat, like in appellate law in particular, is so important because we spend time fighting over the question presented because the question drives the answer. The question is a huge part of the game. So by keeping your mind focused on the question, you can simplify. And I can simply say, the state hasn't proven it, and I can stop asking questions. It's great.
It's so true. You actually bring me back to law school because in legal writing, it's the question presented. And in fact, when I went to law school, legal writing was my favorite class. And I have since become almost best friends. We're very close to being best friends with my legal writing teacher, who taught me everything about getting ready for moot court and getting ready to make arguments at the appellate level, et cetera, which it's kind of ironic that I don't gravitate towards appellate law, although I think I'm a pretty good legal writer or writer in general. But you're right. And that does simplify the issue. And drives any analysis. So the reason I was asking, as part of my voir dire of you, where do you land on the conspiracy, was because I wanted to see if what your view is, if any. Sorry to what if any you, but
Yeah, that's
what's your view on Canoni, if you're comfortable answering? Some lawyers don't want to give opinions on a judge, but a lot of people do believe that there's somebody who maybe she's answering to, or she cannot possibly be making rulings this way or this imbalanced, but for the fact that something's going on. I just wanted to take your temperature on that if you're comfortable answering.
Well, the organic answer, like, is that, as I say, like, she's been overruled several times for, like, ruling in favor of the defense. Like, she's been overruled like 6 times or something for
Yeah.
ruling in favor of the defense, and basically she's just gotten the memo. So that's sort of the organic answer. Is like she's been slapped on the wrist and
She's
learned her
kind of
lesson,
overcorrecting.
and she's doing what the Court of Appeals has basically told her to do, because the Court of Appeals is hostile to defense, and so she's doing that.
It's an organic answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the organic answer. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know what external factors she could be pressured by that she would care about, except, insofar as she cares about, to the extent that she sees her role as, doing what the Court of Appeals wants, which, is not sort of an invalid way of looking about it. Then, other than that, I don't know what could possibly be pressuring her.
Yeah,
Why,
I think that's fair.
like, who would be leaning on her that she would care about? So that's my view. I think she's been slapped on the knuckles one too many times, and has been a bit jaded. And I think also it is slightly personal, and
Yes,
she doesn't like Jackson, and that doesn't
yes.
help. And as you can appreciate, judges are human beings too, and whether they like an attorney or not is going to be a factor. And so, to the extent that that was going to drive her, further along, then there's that.
I think, as analytical as you are, and keeping your thought process as organic as it is, probably serves you very excuse me, serves you very well. I go down so many rabbit holes that it almost spins the brain sometimes. Like, I apologize if I'm glitching.
That's
Um
fine.
so I like that. You keep it, and it's not even high level. It's just a matter of, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm kicking my wire, so I apologize. But anyway, you'll look at it and say, hey, she was the appellate courts have told her she's ruling in favor of the defense too much. So what's happening now? It's kind of a natural auto correction or progression. Um, Pardon me while I try to fix my wire. But and then also, as far as the conspiracy is concerned, I look at it and I say, or the alleged conspiracy, and I say, you know what? I've had a lot of conversations with people in the know, people not only who are boots on the ground, but people who know things that maybe others don't know and can tell me stories, and some stories check out. So I soak all of that in, and I say to myself, okay, maybe there's something going on with Morrissey. Maybe there's a higher authority or a favor owed, or maybe there's maybe she doesn't like Karen. Maybe she definitely doesn't like Jackson. I don't know, but I've reached the I think she's corrupt phase. That's my view.
I
I
mean,
don't.
I'll definitely go with she's biased. I mean, I definitely held
Yeah,
out on for that for a long time, but, like, there's only like so much largesse I can give you. Like, there's only so many times where you can have a disparity that's really wide
right.
before I'm like, this is a systemic problem. Like on any given day, a judge is a human being. On any given day, a judge might wake up on the wrong side of bed, and they decide they don't like you, and it's just your turn to be on the wrong side of the shit stick. It's like, it's not fun, but it's not necessarily biased. It's part of the human condition. But, like, when it happens over and over again, and over months, and on multiple different issues. It's like I can't keep like hand waving this away. So
Right.
I do think she's biased. What that bias is due to is unclear, but I mean, it's really hard as an exemplar to take not the exemplar Lexus, which might be in space, we don't know, but as an exemplar, to take the dog bite expert from the government and the defense, and look how she deals with the Doe Bear Fry Lanigan, whatever
That was
they want to call
awful.
it. And it's a little bit hard to justify that from first principles. I'm like, how can I, from first principles, square these decisions? Having a tough time with that one. That's rough.
I agree. And I will say, as far as how Canoni has treated some, I guess all of the experts, it's so unfair. I mean, to see what Dr. Marie Russell had to go through with two different, I guess, days, and I don't think they were consecutive, if memory serves, of voir dire. And then you've got other witnesses, experts for the defense,
Yeah.
who don't have to be voir dired. Who?
I also particularly love the voir dire of the fact witness in the middle of their testimony. That
Oh
was a
yeah.
first. I've never seen. I didn't even know that was possible. It's like, what do you mean we're doing a voir dire of a fact witness in the middle of their testimony? What are we? What is this combination of words?
It's just, uncharted territory. There's a lot of
I guess
trailblazing.
I guess common law is judges making shit up, so someone's got to be the first. I guess. Damn.
Why not? That's one of the reasons I also like this case so much, because all this little shit pops up and I'm like, okay, I've never seen that. You're in the middle of their own testimony. We're doing a voir dire. Okay. And as far as not what is it? Not aperture. Arca. As far as Arca is concerned, their voir dire by Brennan, that also that intrigued me so much.
I still am, for the life of me, trying to find the ethics issue. I really am, with the communications. Brandon keeps talking about the ethics issue. For the life of me, am trying to find the issue, let alone like why
No.
I should care about it. What is the issue supposed to be? I don't know.
Well, see, that brings up a good point, Kurt, because given your background as someone who really loves doing appellate work and legal research and knowing the case law and issue spotting, and you're having a hard time finding the ethics issue, and then I look at it from my brain as just kind of the ground level scrappy trial lawyer, and I look at it and I say, how many times is Brennan just going to make some bald statement to the court saying, there's an ethics problem with this, or I'm going to imply, look at this impropriety, this needs to be stopped, etc.
Not for nothing, but to make an ethics complaint itself raises ethics issues for lawyers.
Agreed.
You can't just make an ethics accusation against another lawyer without a good faith basis. It's unethical to do it, because
Right.
you're bringing the reputation of the profession disrepute. You can't do that.
I've told people that too. I've over the years I've had, and I won't bore you or your audience with these scenarios, but I've had scenarios where I have been asked to bring ethics complaints against other lawyers because the people who were asking me to do it, I was more tangential to an issue, and the people who wanted me to do it were afraid. They didn't want to do it. I'm like, well, I'm not doing it because it brings ethics concerns upon myself, ethical risks, and I try to comport myself with integrity. I get a lot of flack on social media from the antis in the Karen Reed case, where they will say, you're not an ethical lawyer if you use profanity, which I laugh at. I love
That
profanity.
is not in the code of ethics.
It's
And they
not.
can bite my ass.
I love it, Kurt. Yeah, I mean, it's like a second language to me, and a good, peppered in shithead or F-bomb. Like,
Yeah.
they really do punctuate sentences, and they bring me great joy. But I refuse to cast ethical aspersions on any lawyer, if I can avoid it. I'm trying to find the ethics concern with ARCA, and I don't in any way understand what happened in that courtroom. I think it was February 18th of this year. It was the Grave Concerns Day where Judge Bev
Yes,
went off.
grave concerns.
Yeah, where she went off
Grave
the
concerns.
rails, and in my view, and I'm saying to myself, what is going on here? I deal with experts all the time. I'm looking at
Do
communication
you sometimes prep your experts before they're on the stand? Do you sometimes do that?
on
Maybe
occasion, yeah,
maybe a little prep.
just a
Oh my
little.
god! Oh my god!
Let's
What are the odds?
let's just
Who
say,
knew?
Kurt,
Who knew?
I was prepping an
No,
expert this
no.
morning.
Oh
This
no! The rebellion continues.
Yeah. So we were, when I look at prepping witnesses, prepping experts, I look at reimbursing for travel expenses. I look at, and I don't remember if it became an issue in the voir dire. I think it did. Um, Communications. I've used encrypted channels.
No, really? Like,
Yeah.
not to, and I said this before, it's like, attorneys also like have a duty basically of safekeeping. And so the idea that an attorney might use an encrypted app, like, tell me a new story.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I was listening to Aidan Carney at some point last week, and he was talking about this issue, the issue of using Signal to communicate with anybody or with experts.
Yeah.
And he was like, why do people do that? Because they don't want the government infringing upon their privacy. It's not to hide something, it's because they have a right to privacy. And I'm paraphrasing him. But they have a right to privacy in the nature and substance of their discussions, and the government should not just have this skeleton key and red carpet rolled out to access communications. And I totally paraphrased him, but I really agree with that. So I don't care if ARCA and the defense team used WhatsApp, if they use Signal, if they're sending messages through any other encrypted
Carrier
channel,
pigeon.
carrier pigeon, whatever it is, who cares? There's nothing at all that's smacked of an ethical violation or hiding the ball. And when we think about how much that escalated at the time from February, the grave concerns, to I guess it was a week later when Bev absolutely had a conniption on the bench talking to them about their dishonesty to the bench and all of that, to the point where I was worried. I'm like, what is going on here? There's nothing there. And then we go further, go down the timeline, and now we're at the point where Wolf has his testimony last week and this week. Rentschler is testifying now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Even Brennan didn't make it a huge deal in the cross-examination of Daniel Wolf.
Yeah, yeah.
It just wasn't. So what happens is in my observation, Brennan kind of stirs Cannoni's pot, gets her all worked up. That sounded completely inappropriate, but I don't mean it that way. But he stirs her up, gets her completely frustrated and concerned. She has these grave concerns, and it was all for nothing. Then you throw on the fact that this jury is young. I'm confident they're all familiar with encrypted apps and communication apps, and I'm sure they use them, know what they are, have a familiarity with them, and don't think anything nefarious by virtue of the use of them, just by the sheer virtue of the use of
Yeah.
them.
Where
So,
did they find out about Snapchat, right?
oh my God, I know. So the way it's trending, before I forget, I think when I heard today, Um, they're anticipating wrapping things up by the end of this week and or
Yep.
Monday.
Yeah, that sounds right to me on the timeline. Mm-hmm.
I'm scheduled, and I don't know if it's going to get this far. I'm scheduled to be in the courtroom Wednesday.
Excellent.
So I might be there. I hope it doesn't take that long, but I might be there for a verdict, and I'm like super excited. Yeah. So I'm like
Hmm.
a kid on
Well, you'd be
Christmas.
excited / scared / disappointed / elated / yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited only if she's acquitted. there goes my bias again. But I don't have any partiality,
I don't know this.
impartiality.
I've been a little black-pilled with this case, particularly since I saw parts of that interview with one of the jurors from trial 1 on Aiden's channel, Turtle Boy.
Ronnie.
We're in the juror describing, I assume other members of the jury said, well, Karen Reed was there, John O'Keefe was there, therefore Karen Reed did it. And I'm like, well, fuck me. I thought we needed some additional steps along the way, but I guess not.
Well, in all fairness, and this is my attempt of being sarcastic, in all fairness, he also added that the car was there and she had been drinking. So he added some additional factors that made him, and apparently the majority of people in the room, also jump to the conclusion that she must have done it because of that. And anything the defense had to say was a distractor. Any valid defense raised under the Constitution to protect Karen's due process rights and to advance a zealous defense on her behalf was seen as a quote distractor. I almost fell out of my chair.
Is it a distractor to point out that Karen Reed was there, John O'Keefe was there, the Lexus was there, and Karen Reed was drunk? It is not sufficient even as a prima facie to prove each and every element of the crime. Is that a distractor?
That it completely is.
Oh, okay.
Completely.
Anyway.
I love it. I love it. It's so concerning. And in a part of what we're talking about right now goes along with what you were saying before in terms of, well, there's a 5% allocation that she's got to get just because by virtue of the fact that she's a defendant in this case. Like, I get it. It's kind of, what's your desk authority when you're settling something? There's always a minimum and there's always a 5% chance just because she's the defendant. And why would she be sitting there?
If not guilty, why guilty shaped?
Oh, I need that. I might make a t-shirt out of that. I'm known for my funny t-shirts. I did not wear one for you this evening out of respect. But if I ever get to know you better or you ever invite me back, I will wear one of my signature t-shirts for you. But I do think that Ronnie, the juror's interview, it was frightening. And I don't mean any offense to Ronnie.
Yeah.
I feel like it
I do.
goes, oh, well, then I'm happy to join you. I wanted to keep it a little bit equitable.
Him and his entire brooder are incompetent jackasses who apparently didn't understand the assignment despite it being spelled out to them in verbose language about moral certainty.
Can I tell you a quick little story if you're willing to draw a conclusion?
It's like, I don't know. It's like I said this before. It's like I literally don't know what more we as lawyers have to do, because these ideas, like the idea of like beyond a reasonable doubt, is an idea that's been in law how long now? It's been a hot minute. It's like, and apparently people still do not understand it. And we spend all this time and language trying to describe it to them. And then Massachusetts goes like one better with this like moral certainty instruction. And apparently they still don't understand it. I don't know what it is. Do we have to reassess what the reasonable man is? Because apparently the reasonable man's a fucking idiot. And I'm sorry, what did you want to say?
I agree. I'll just tell you a brief little aside. I was there up in Dedham for jury selection, one day of it in April. And they brought the veneer in and
veneer.
Yeah, veneer. They veneer, even whatever the Latin I learned in school was, that's a whole other story. But they brought the veneer.
You're right. It is called a veneer. I was just, I was making a very old Frasier joke.
Oh, I'm a big fan of Frasier as well. Did you know up until a few years ago, and I think he's been dethroned, he was the longest running character on television. Frasier.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, he played 20 years and now he's played it 23 years. So yeah.
And I don't know if he ever got dethroned on that, but I found that an interesting statistic. So here's my little story. I'm there for one day of jury selection, and I was actually there only one morning of one day for jury selection. They bring the veneer in. The judge is asking the questions, not the real granular ones that might have been asked at the bench, but the questions that the attorneys agreed upon. And I don't have it in front of me, but I'm watching people raise hands and people are getting counted, and she's going through do you feel that this and that? Do you know this and that? And she gets to the question of, and I'm paraphrasing, do you understand that like the defendant has a presumption of innocence and that she will that evidence will come forward and then you have to discern whether or not it's been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. It was something as basic as that, and I know I didn't get the language right. There were people who raised their hands, and it was beyond the point of the people who didn't want to be there and will raise their hand to anything and to get out of there. It was the point of like those people have been weeded out already, Kurt. Like this was I don't really understand reasonable doubt or presumption of innocence or any of the like. And I was shocked. Because almost half of them had already been weeded out, and these individuals were individuals who had not raised their hand yet before. So can I say that they weren't making it up just to get out of service? I can't. But I think there is a level of ignorance amongst jury pools of some members of jury pools all over. And I mean, while I don't expect every juror to be as learned and knowledgeable, even with common sense, as others or lawyers, I am a little shocked at the absence of some common sense and the lack of understanding of basic civics paradigms. Like I find it fascinating and frightening at the same time. Have I stumped you?
No, I'm just depressed at our state of reality. What is presumption of innocence, they say? Well, it's on the label. Just listen to the words. It will tell you the answer. It really doesn't require much explanation. Do you know what a presumption is? We're presuming. Do you know what innocence is? They didn't do it. Okay, so what do you think presumption of innocence is? Or reasonable doubt? Okay, that would be a doubt based on reason.
Man, you are.
I mean, wow. I'm just getting all the points. It's just like wow, like a doubt based on logic, reason, thought, as opposed to purely speculative or conjectural, just based on thinking with the brain parts.
Isn't that like?
Is it too much?
That's the part that scares me about any case, but this case in particular, because I do come to it with a bias. I do now. I didn't originally, as I mentioned. I was just
this is why I need lawyers to write terms of service and because this is why we can't have nice things. I know this already from trying to run a little cheap little $20 merch contest. As because people had questions. I'm like, how do you people still have questions? And then I'm like, I have to write rules. And why do I have to write rules? Why is this so fucking hard for me just to give away $20 worth of merch? It's not that fucking hard. Oh my God.
This is why I don't have a channel, because I would absolutely lose my mind if I had to write rules for a merch contest. I would. I know. I don't know how you do it. And I've seen you over the years. I've seen you going through, streaming things that have developed in court or reading through some pleadings. And I'm saying to myself, I have such respect for this man. I don't think I could do this.
Yeah.
I think but then some of the, and it's not always, but I ride chats. So when I go through and surf these chats, I'm like, some of the comments scare me, but at the same time, I can't expect everyone to understand. I go out of my way to help educate, So if anyone ever has a question, you certainly feel free to reach out to me if you have a question about the law or how it's applied, and I'll give you one woman's opinion. And lawyers disagree on stuff. We absolutely do. It's almost like doctors. We can reach
But
different.
we all agree this case is bullshit.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I will say, now that I've heard your math analysis of wherever you land on the potential for a conviction in its smaller percentage format,
Yeah.
um I'm not budging. I'm saying it's going to be an acquittal.
I hope
The oh,
so.
yeah. But you know what? I will certainly, if she's acquitted or she's convicted, I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to say, here's my thoughts, because I'm hoping I'm there.
Well, I hope you'll come spend some quality time with me during jury watch, because it can get
Oh
the
yeah,
verdict watch can get a little annoying.
absolutely. Whenever you ask, I'll make it work. Yeah, that would be wonderful. I
Now,
feel
you said
honored.
you were thinking about wearing a spicy shirt. Might I interest you in some
Ooh,
shirts from our merch store? Yes, we have some wonderful items in our merch store that you can get. First of all, we have some trial by sidebar hats and hoodies featuring a nice rubber duck on there to remind you about the things that are going on in there. We
that's
also
very
have
nice.
the sidebar mug and sticker. Justice for Chloe. Chloe is dead.
What about Cora? Is Cora dead as well?
Cora is dead. We have unexpected black hole for those occasions when your Lexus. Have you heard about my black hole thing?
I have,
This. Okay, yeah.
but you
So
can tell me if you'd like.
well, I'll tell the people who don't know. So in trying to explain how things have worked in this case, I have come up with a theory no one else has presented yet, and that is that an unexpected black hole occurred at 34 Fairview on the evening in question. The unexpected black hole explains many things. The unexpected black hole, of course, being a source of gravity, would cause John O'Keefe's body to fly through the air. The unexpected black hole being formed directly in between the lens of the Lexus and the camera would cause the taillight color to change due to Doppler shift. The unexpected black hole probably also does things with the time continuum, because space and time are the same thing and warping and shit. So the unexpected black hole theory explains many things. It is a glorious theory, and no one has picked up on it so far.
Does that black hole, does it explain for like the 3 flights of stairs? I bet it would.
Yeah,
The unexpected black hole. It must
yeah,
account for that.
yeah.
Interesting. I'm fascinated. I can I look back at your merch, please, though?
Oh,
Because
you absolutely, of course, you absolutely may.
yeah.
So this is depicting what happens when the Lexus falls into the unexpected black hole. Please ignore the fact that if the black hole were this close to the event horizon, the 30 million Gs would cause the Lexus to turn into a string. But let's ignore that, because this Lexus is particularly resilient.
I'm wondering if they'll ask Rentschler about the unexpected black hole as it relates to
Yeah.
injuries on the body. And also, I'm thinking the unexpected black hole definitely would
It also
account.
yeah. I mean, it gets the Lexus in space. It's also why the phone calls, also why the phone call logs. See, it isn't those phone calls were made. It
Mm.
was solar flares, because
Ooh.
it is possible, and this is actually true. It is possible that the sun, when it's ejecting matter, if it hits a computer chip exactly the right way, it can actually cause a bit to flip. That's actually a real thing that has to actually sometimes be accounted for. So basically, you take that principle, which is true, and then you take it to the extreme. What happened was there was some sort of massive sun event which caused all these particles to hit the memory of the phone and caused them to flip in a way that just so happened to form a complete log. Now, please take notice that this is a random process, so this is a monkeys typing Shakespeare problem, but never mind. It caused the log to magically appear from the sun.
I'm
Yeah,
fascinated with this.
yeah.
And the unexpected black hole would therefore explain why, if Karen's car was backing up however many feet, 53
Mhm.
feet, 60 feet, 24
Yep,
miles per hour, it with snow that had been starting, why it did not hit the curb on the
yep.
curved road or Higgins' Jeep. Is
It
that
also, yeah, yes, it also explains the discrepancies that Aperture was telling about, like in different times, like they're talking about the time sync and how different things.
Yeah,
aren't
the
synced at the same
time
time.
skew.
Yeah,
Yes.
you guys know this in chat. The faster you go to the speed of light or the more gravity you have, time itself actually changes. So you get time discrepancies because clocks are now literally ticking at different rates.
I'm sold. I am going to go onto your
Yeah.
website. I'm
No,
going
it's
to buy an unexpected black hole limited edition mug. Yeah.
explains many phenomena. I'm here to help. Here is my rendition of the Lexus taking off and projecting itself into space, because that is a possibility. As Aperture said, sometimes your Lexus SUV will just launch into space. It is a known hazard. Get this mug to warn others about this troubling and little known hazard.
I wonder if they
The thing Lexus doesn't want to tell you about. That's one hell of a product liability case waiting to happen. Let me tell you what.
I
We get
wonder
ourselves a
if they
class action.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if they put out a recall notice on that.
I'm not sure how you recall against that, but we got the truth can be subjective. That was good.
That's awesome.
Proctor the taillight fairy. For those of you interested in more conspiratorial things, we got, there's the fairy living his little fairy dust or taillight pieces, as the case may be. Our BS degree. Are you currently pursuing a BS degree?
I am. Well, I've earned it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm
But
currently
it's
pursuing.
loading. Okay, I see what
Yeah.
you're
See.
doing.
Yeah. This one is pursuing since 2008. So for those of you whose BS degrees have not yet come true, you can get your BS degree bug. That's very
It's only
exciting.
17 years. Only
Yeah, no.
17.
Here's one for you for sure. Are you a whiskey or wine person? Do you want the whiskey or wine glass?
I would definitely prefer a whiskey glass. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Girl after my own heart. You get
Yeah.
yourself the Sidebar whiskey drinking glass. It is a top quality drinking glass.
Yeah, that's good. That looks like good leaded glass. I'm all for like a thick glass. I'm liking that.
Yeah, we got some
Ooh,
Sidebar mugs.
what's
What?
what's the yellow drink cup?
Oh,
What's
that's
is
the
that
wine. That's the wine cup.
I got you. Okay, we can move along. I'm not drinking the wine. I'm not
You
drinking.
could put a margarita in or sangria or something in it if you like.
All right.
It doesn't have to be wine.
I think I'm going shopping this evening.
Excellent.
Someone in your chat said to point out, they said you got to look at Kurt's Arca t-shirt.
We got some, we got Don't Be a Dick merch.
Whoa. Wait, hold on. I will buy that because that's my saying. I call people dicks all the time online. In this case, in fact, there's probably people in your chat who will attest that I will outright call witnesses dicks.
Yeah, I might have actually updated my LinkedIn to say that I was the president of the University of Alabama at Huntington, currently pursuing.
Shit. I gotta look at your LinkedIn.
I changed it back, but I might have at one point put that in my LinkedIn profile. Because I figure that I'm closer to being the president of University of Alabama Huntington than he is to getting his BS degree.
Oh, I agree. By the way, though, can I just ask you, how do you feel that Burgess and Brennan handled that? The whole abysmal explanation on the education. Like, what's your feeling on that?
Apparently, associate's degrees is where it's at. And it's also where it's at for Judge Bev, I guess, was what we learned. He's giving Dr. Wolf such a hard time, and not Burgess, because Dr. Wolf does not have an associate's degree. Neither do you, to the best of my knowledge.
I do not. I feel woefully inadequate.
Neither do I. We're all woefully inadequate. Maybe I should get one. It's not too late. I could go back to school.
You could go back to school and get a virtual one. Just mail it in and, attend a few classes.
Again.
Yeah, there's still time. In fact, I'm all about, I'm going to make a promise to myself. Like I said before, you're going
to get that associate's degree.
Why not? I don't know where I will put the initials for the associate's degree in my long line of initials after my name.
What is the initials for an associate's degree? Does it have associate's?
Ass. No, I don't know. I actually don't know. But I think Burgess is an ass. So I'm going to say I'll go with ass for that. But I think his explanation was awful. I didn't buy it at all. He made himself look worse. I would have had more forgiveness in terms of how I analyze the issue had he just kind of fallen on the sword and said, "Oops, yeah, I was self-aggrandizing. Nah, I
Oops,
never
I
got it."
did it again.
Yeah. Play with my heart. What? Yeah. Oh
Lost
wait,
in the game.
that's not
It's
Britney
Britney
Spears.
Spears.
That's
It is Britney
Madonna.
Spears.
But this is the Madonna Vogue moves.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself.
You can
All right, what do
also,
we
of
got?
course, you can also get yourself the Evidence Solo Cup. This one's made out of glass for all your evidence collection needs. 100% glass tribute to the Canton Police. Brilliant choice of
Love that
solo
it's
cups for blood
glass.
collection. Yes, which is a better choice
Oh,
for, you know,
absolutely.
if you got to use something in a pinch. Glass is non-reactive, so you know you got that going for you.
I think I'm going to put one of those in the shopping cart as well.
It's used property of Canton PD, but it can be yours. All these exciting items can be yours. And we got some wonderful mugs, some uncivil law pint glasses. We got Callie the bee fish. Do you know about Callie the bee fish?
No.
Oh, you missed that story? Oh, I'm sorry you missed out on that story. It's a bit of a thing on the channel. So this is great because it just proves that law can be fun sometimes, or at least disturbing. All right, so the state of California has its own environmental protection law on the state level, which you know some states do, and it protects things on the state level up above and beyond what the federal
Right.
protected act does. Okay.
New Jersey has
Now,
the same
yeah.
thing.
Now, their law protects a lot of things, but it does not name bees. Now, there were some environmental activists who were concerned about like bees. They're concerned about like colony collapse and things like that. And so they're like, we would like our law to protect bees. And so now one solution to this problem might be, to go to the state legislature and get the law to be amended to say, how about bees too? That might be a solution. But that is not what our friends did. They did not do that solution. What they did instead is they sued the state of California and said that bees were already protected because fish were protected, and bees are a kind of fish. And the appellate court agreed. So bees are legally a kind of fish in California. Hence, Callie, the bee fish. It is a bee and a fish because California says it so. And so you can get yourself a Callie the bee fish sticker to remind yourself of this glorious, glorious truth. Its name is Callie. It comes from California, and it is a bee and a fish.
I just have a question. Where did that argument come from? The equating of a bee to a fish? Did I miss something? Are they both endangered species? Are they what? Make it make sense, Kurt. Make it make sense.
Yeah, so the fish were mentioned in the environmental protection law. So the fish were mentioned as a protected species. And so, as I said, like they could have amended the law to also add in bees, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Now, I will get this wrong, but I'll paraphrase the basics and you'll understand. So what it said was, it said fish are protected, and then it went on to define fish as one does. And it said something like fish includes some other stuff. It includes like mollusks and some other named things. And then it said, and other invertebrates.
Oh,
And so the California court said, hey, bees are invertebrate. And it says other invertebrates. So therefore, bees are a kind of fish.
this is fascinating because
Yeah.
now
It's the case of Xerxes Society versus Almond Alliance. And yes, that's actually the name of the case. Xerxes Society versus Almond Alliance. Court of Appeals, California. Look it up. Have fun.
yeah, thank you. I feel like you've wrecked my evening because I'm going to hit the books and read it to my heart's content.
They sued the almond people for not protecting the fish bees.
I think about it though. How many times in your life have you ever taken a moment to think about the fact that bees don't have spinal columns? I've never.
It's not really occurred to me.
This is amazing. Yeah, I like that. So that is a sticker. So and it's
It's a sticker.
holographic. Callie.
It is yes, it's a sticker. It comes in different sizes. Here's one 5.5 by 5.5 inches. Is a big friendly fish. You can put it on a cabinet. You could put it on a notepad. You could put it on your computer. See how glorious it is. Callie is there to welcome you into the insanity.
Callie is an inspiration.
Callie is an inspiration.
Yeah, I'm with you.
She's a good bee fish, and she's a little insane. But then again, she's from California, so I repeat
That's kind of
myself.
how I feel about me sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm good, but I'm a little insane. Gotta be. Gotta be. See, get it? Gotta be. BEE.
Yeah,
I made it
picked
funny.
I picked it up. I picked up what you were laying down.
What
So
else?
we got some smaller stickers, learning from the misfortune of others, and of course we got Callie the Bee Fish wanted poster mug, wanted for shenanigans. Because obviously.
And did I miss an ARCA t-shirt? Your chat
Yes,
keeps telling me.
we do have ARCA shirts. So we got some ARCA shirts and ARCA hats. We've got
Look at that.
ARCA authentic reconstruction confronts corrupt accusations. The Fed call
Yes.
ARCA stickers. We got the Feds call ARCA we got some shirts with some
Excellent.
hats. So we do got some ARCA stuff. That's right there. We also have an evidence bag. Ours is made of canvas instead of
Ooh.
stop and shop. So that's also better.
Well,
So we got
that's good.
as you can see, it's sterile-ish.
Sterile-ish, and it's absorbent of biological material as opposed to like a paper stop and shop bag. I'm liking that.
So here's a closer look at the ARCA shirt. The Feds call ARCA. It's nice.
By the way, I'm okay with how much mentioning of the Feds or alluding to the Feds is going on in this trial. I'm okay with that. That is a difference between trial 2.0 and 1.0. Even as recently as today, it was, we didn't hire you and you weren't hired by an insurance company. Nope, it was another agency, and there's been commentary about law enforcement agencies and the like. So I'm okay. I was a little unsettled going into this trial, figuring out how it was going to play out. And your ARCA shirts have inspired me to bring this up to you. Yeah.
Very, very cool. So there's all that stuff. So you can get all that wonderful stuff. And sometimes we do merch giveaways if we heard certain. Of course, we've got tribute to Spinny Fan, which of course is glorious in every way. The Spinny Fan spins for truth.
Yeah, and also I'm seeing their Yuri's lunchbox, which is hysterical. I mean, he's just
it's a cheap one, but there you go.
That's okay. Yeah,
and also that one data expert. She's a Marine. How?
Like that Hyde, Jessica Hyde?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one with the head covering woman? Yeah, she's a Marine. She's a Marine. I know.
Semper Fi. Semper Fi.
I know.
Interesting. I don't know if I would call upon her to help defend me on the lines.
No.
But, if I needed someone to help fabricate a justification for the cause or story about the cause of a Google search, or if I needed someone to use obscure food references when explaining the Google search to a jury, I would sure give her a call.
Let's read some super chats. Pokey SD for $2 said American Standard Dog Training, Garrett Wing, YouTube. Janine Ireland said, Nan and Uncivil Law, I'm here for this legal genius. I think you got it. G-Force Lexus in Space for $10 says, who is the missing witness? That would be Proctor. And how might those instructions to the jury affect deliberations? Well, assuming the instruction is to be given, which that hasn't been decided, and probably not so much. Which is interesting, incidentally, because not all jurisdictions allow for that instruction.
That's right.
So that was something I learned from this case, because I don't know if it's the default rule, but my perception was that what that rule was, not that it was not allowed. And apparently in Massachusetts, you can get such an instruction. So basically, if the party was expected to call a witness and didn't, there can be an instruction given in Massachusetts that you can therefore infer that the witness would have been in some sense harmful to the case. So it is a adverse inference instruction, which is atypical, at least in my understanding of U.S. law, but Massachusetts allows for it. So I learned something from this case. So we always learn something new.
Some things are a little.
And then I learned from a Texas lawyer that rebuttal is allowed as a matter of right in criminal cases in Texas. Like, okay, so we're just learning all kinds of fun things. That's great.
Yeah, every day is a new lesson and new things. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be given during the rest of the jury instructions. So it'd be just one of the many instructions that'd be like, yeah, because they didn't call this witness, you can therefore infer they would have been negative. Basically, in so many words. Canone's Baloney has been a member for 1 month. Goo Eye sent 20 gift memberships. NH Dude 603 said, Nan is acclaimed in my non-legal brain.
Hey, Steve. I
Great
know
pairing of
Nanny
legal
Dude.
minds. I see you. I said hypothetical. Defense called Proctor and asked him only 2 questions. Could Brandon cross on everything under sun? Yes, because Massachusetts has unlimited cross. It's in their rules. They don't limit scope, which is
Yeah.
also a little different, but that's the way they roll.
But you know what they do limit? Closing arguments.
Which I don't have a problem with, to be honest. Let's
An
keep the thing.
hour?
Let's get that thing moving. Let's go, people. Let's chew.
I'll
Go.
take 90 minutes. If she gave him a cool 90, I'd be happier. But okay, fair enough.
I'm a fan of chess clock in trials. I like that in Johnny Depp. It's like, here's how much time you have. It is all the time you have. You figure it out, and if you burn it, it's your problem.
I like that mentality. It's kind of interesting and a little, suspenseful. But I want 90 minutes each side. We'll see.
We give you 90
So I
minutes.
interrupted your super chat flow. So
that's fine.
Go
Pokey SD said $2. Brendan equals bigger boomer than good logic. James Carson said this is a fun stream. You should clap more often. Absolutely. Down for that.
Me too.
AKA the cat lady for $5 said, I see so many attorneys talk about reversible error. Do you both agree there have been many judges that'll be reversible? That could be, yes. That will be, no.
No.
I'm a little black pilled on the whole thing, especially given my understanding of how Judge Beverly Canoni has been reversed on siding for the defense, and given also some of their language previously. It doesn't feel like either the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court of the state is going to go out of their way or anything. So while I think that there are valid grounds to appeal, I don't really have really high hopes. And I don't think the feds are going to come in and somehow magically save her either. Because trying to find a clearly established U.S. Supreme Court precedent that somehow they violated, good fucking luck. So I don't have a lot of potential for that habeas course of action either. Dog's discussion for became an uncivilian. Rush to judgment for 499 said, unexpected black hole explains Hank losing the plot and getting his own witness to testify against him in his own case. LPB for £5 said, great show, thanks. Please have Nan back on sometime. I will. And Pamela Huff sent 5 gift memberships. You are welcome, by the way, anytime if you want to drop by during the day. Just send me or my mods a message. You can hop on. I need it's a little draining to do it by yourself day after day.
No problem. I would welcome that. Sometimes I don't know till the day of, but I'm happy
That's fine.
You and I have a means of communication, and I'm honored that you would mention that. Thank you.
Cool. And maybe we can work together on some cases. That'd be cool. I can learn more about medical issues, which is fine.
But you know what?
Always learn stuff.
I do other stuff too. Yeah, I have all different. It's not just healthcare. Like I do products liability. I do personal injury. I do public entities. I even do some police cases. That was actually way back in my experience. I have some police background where I defended a bunch of police on several cases, including one that hit headlines in New Jersey, which was awful. And that involved not only police misconduct, but products liability issues. So I think I could teach
products liability and police misconduct in the same case. That's
fun.
Fun,
I'm going to send you a link, Kurt.
What they do use like a mace or something that was like more potent than it should have been or something like that, or taser that malfunctioned.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a link. There was a case, and I don't want to hold you up from your super chat.
We're done with that. That's fine.
But there was a case back many moons ago. I mean, this was 20 years ago, in New Jersey, where 3 little boys passed away in the trunk of a Toyota Camry. They were missing. This was the inner city of Camden, New Jersey, which is, not the best area. These 3 little boys, very young, they were all under like the age of 9, and they went missing from one of their homes. And the parents of the homeowner's family called the police, and the police came. They searched the premises. They looked for these little boys who had been out playing, and they couldn't find them. They searched everywhere. They searched high and low. Couldn't find the boys. It was like 90-degree days. It was in, I believe, June. The boys ended up being found the next day or like a day and a half later in the trunk of the Toyota Camry outside of the house. Do you know where the cops never searched? In the trunk in the Camry outside of the house. And from that, and I defended for an excess insurance carrier, the city of Camden and its police department. So I had to some degree, just monitor how badly the police botched that investigation so I could judge from financial standpoint what the exposure was going to be. I since morphed out of that area of law because it was like, I just couldn't, I just didn't want to defend cops who were bad at their jobs. But anyway, that case helped to spur on a change in the construction and manufacture of Camrys and all vehicles, because now there is some type of safety valve or safety pull in every trunk.
There sure is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the proper vernacular for that, but that was a case I was involved in. It was very heartbreaking because had they searched, and that's the thing, had they searched the car sooner when they got to the property and searched everywhere else, the boys would have survived. And they actually suffered a pretty tragic death under those circumstances.
What's the cause of action against the police? Because like no affirmative duty, right? So like
police misconduct, in willful. Oh man, I'm going back 20 years. It was like in reckless disregard for oh man, it was willful misconduct. They were it was all the things necessary to pierce the public entity law, Title 59 in New Jersey. They went after the officers individually as well. Some of the causes of action were, oh man, it's escaping me. I don't remember other than they got around no affirmative duty. But I'll pull, like, I don't have access to the file anymore. I've long since left that firm. But I know once I pull up the case and the articles, it was all over the news. Once I pull it up, it'll all come back to me. And they lay out, and I might even check the docket. They lay out what the causes of action were. Case ended up settling with those 3 families from the inner city of Camden for multi-millions of dollars. It was insane. But that actually helped, and that is one of the reasons I broadened interest into the Karen Reed case, because I learned a lot about police protocols and policies and procedures in that case. I defended cops on other cases as well. So I've represented cops who've messed up and been able to kind of get them out of trouble. I also, there's other areas of law that I practice as well in healthcare. Like I do so much administrative law. So whether I'm dealing with the feds on criminal level, or I'm dealing with the Office of the Inspector General at the administrative level, or the FDA or the DEA, like I know tons and tons of administrative law. Then I represent a national.
I'm in law school.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite classes in law school. I represent a national certifying board.
APA, what up?
Yeah. Remember that?
Of course I do.
I love that. I'll never forget the day I learned about that. I also do accreditation. Like one of my biggest clients is an accredited board. So I know, and I was able to give insight when, I don't know if you were following it, but as it related to Canton, Massachusetts, when they did the police audit and the 5 Stones came in and audited them. And I was able, through my accreditation and my certification as an accreditor for an organization, I was able to give insight as to how these processes are supposed to work, how 5 Stones was supposed to evaluate the Canton PD et al. So I could go on and on. I apologize for pontificating, but I just wanted to give you.
Let's just know a little bit more about you, which is part of the interview point anyway.
So that's it from me. I'm going to make some dinner.
Cool. All right. So why don't you sign off by just letting people know where they can find you, find out more about you, follow you, all that good social media stuff, and then we'll call it a day.
Great. Yeah. So I am. I work under Lawferio. That's my handle. I'm on Twitter or X under Lawferio, Lawferio. I also have a Lawferio Facebook page. If you are messaging me or trying to connect on Facebook, please aim for Lawferio and not my personal Facebook. Otherwise, you're just going to get a prompt from me to go to my other page. And then I am trying to post some things on what perceivably is a YouTube channel for me where I just post things. Like I posted that I would be on with Uncivil Law today. That's called Lawferio as well, but I don't stream. And if you live in the New York, New Jersey area, I own and operate the Nan Gallagher Law Group with offices in Morristown and Manhattan. And if you need any services, don't hesitate to reach out. But otherwise, I'll see you around.
All right. Thank you very much to my guests. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I've been Uncivil Law. Until later, my friends, I hope all's well. Cheers for now, my friends, and goodbye.
Good night.